Here's now a teenager named Damon has been going online telling how he's running from a father he says abused him and a court system that he says failed to protect him.
In an exclusive interview, Damon tells why he's pleading for help on YouTube. We'll also talk to his father, who denies the allegations. Gina Silva has a story you'll see only on Fox.
Hey Dr. Phil, this is Damon, and I was just making this video because I want you, and subsequently all of your viewers, to know how my dad sexually abused me.
Damon put this video on YouTube when he was 13, hoping TV psychologist Dr. Phil or someone would help him. He says his dad molested him.
Sexually abused me and then threatened to kill me.
But the courts refused to believe him. When his mother Cindy tried to protect him,
the court took me away from my mom. And guess who I'm with? Him. It boggles my mind.
Damon has been waging a social media crusade fighting the court for his right to be safe.
This petition is my life.
He's been online with his claims for more than 2 years.
I told my mom that the abuse happened every time I visited him. She reported that to the court, but the judge made me go back to my father unsupervised anyway.
But last year, a judge gave full custody to his dad. Damon ran.
I'm on the run, hiding from the very court system we trust to protect us.
That's where we met Damon, in hiding. He arranged a secret meeting to explain why he considers himself a fugitive from injustice.
And the court has never protected me, so I decided that I needed to try to protect myself.
We tried to get an interview with Damon's father when we first started putting the story together. He declined to go on camera. But on the very same day the story is scheduled to air, he showed up at our studio ready to tell his side of the story.
This is one of the few things, too, where you're actually guilty until you prove yourself innocent, which is really hard to do.
I'm asking you now, did you molest your son? Did you touch him inappropriately? Did you have sex with him?
God, no. Absolutely not. That's not the kind of person I am. It turns my stomach.
He points out police have investigated the charges.
It's been vetted in 2 court systems and upheld by the appellate court. Nothing happened. There was no evidence, no credible evidence of any abuse whatsoever.
We've confirmed family court found no credible evidence of abuse. Damon wonders why he's not credible. He was there. So was his older brother, who in 2008 gave a sworn statement that he'd witnessed the abuse.
The court deliberately sent me back with someone who all the evidence said abused me.
It's wrong, and the whole system needs to be revamped.
Kathleen Russell is a children's rights advocate. She says courts should place a child with the safe parent in cases with allegations of abuse.
More often than not, child sex abuse victims are being given to the perpetrating parent, and the safe parent is being denied any ability to protect their child.
Damon's mom, Cindy, was ordered to share custody. She refused to share after Damon told her he was being abused.
The judge said on the record to my mom that it doesn't matter if he's being abused, he still has to live with his father, and if you don't send him to his father's, you're going to lose custody.
Convinced she was about to lose custody, Cindy took Damon and his brothers and went into hiding for 3 years. After that, family court placed Damon with guardians, friends of his dad, though he wanted to be with his mother.
She's a perfect mom. She's, in fact, probably the best mom ever. She gave up her entire life just to try to protect me.
When the court ordered Damon to live with his father full-time, he went back on the run, now constantly on the move.
Pretty much my life now is moving between houses, trying desperately to get back to my life.
He says you molested him for years and he doesn't want to live with you. So why do you keep fighting to keep him with you?
It's not that I'm fighting to bring him in. I'm trying to get him back in a normal life. He's nowhere close to normal right now.
Damon has asked a prosecutor from another court to investigate his case and try to get a court order to protect him and let him come home.
This is a growing epidemic, and it's one that is going to continue to grow until elected officials and people that have power can create some accountability within the system.
Damon has one message for California's family courts.
Change. That's the message I want to get to the court. Change. Stop hurting kids. Maybe this wouldn't be such a big deal if it were just happening to me, but it's not. It's happening to tens of thousands of other kids, just like me.
Gina Silva, Fox 11 News.
Our Fox 11 legal analyst Robin Sachs also talked to the father today. Robin has been involved in this case for years. She says with all the charges and countercharges, it's hard to know who's telling the truth. What's important is how to proceed from here.
And the fact of the matter is, right here, we have a 16-year-old boy who believes he was sexually assaulted by his father. Okay. And I asked his dad the question, why is it that you would want to have your child in your home if he is terrified of you and believes that you abused him? Even if you didn't, let's just say he didn't. Don't you consider that in and of itself abusive? And his answer was, that's a trick question.
What can Damon do now?
Well, first of all, the evidentiary abuse affidavit, which is what he's utilized here by talking on YouTube, by talking on television, by saying his story, could be heard by the courts, and the courts and the judge and the DAs could give him assurances that he could come to court and fight for his emancipation, just like his dad says. His dad says, I won't get in the way of his emancipation. And they could provide him those assurances that they will not return him to the father no matter what. That could bring Damon forward, and that could begin the beginning of the rest of his life.
For years now, a teenager named Damon has been going online on YouTube for years, from the time he was much younger to now he's 16, telling how he's running from a father, he says, abused him, and a court system that failed to protect him. Now, his father absolutely denies the allegations. Here's a little bit of what both of them told us.
I told my mom that the abuse happened every time I visited him. She reported that to the court, but the judge made me go back to my father unsupervised anyway.
The court deliberately sent me back with someone who all the evidence said abused me.
This is one of the few things, too, where you're actually guilty until you prove yourself innocent, which is really hard to do.
I'm asking you now, did you molest your son? Did you touch him inappropriately? Did you have sex with him?
God, no. Absolutely not. That's not the kind of person I am.
He says you molested him for years and he doesn't want to live with you. So why do you keep fighting to keep him with you?
It's not that I'm fighting to bring him in. I'm trying to get him back in a normal life. He's nowhere close to normal right now.
All right, Robin Sachs has been following this case, and we've been talking about it a lot here on the station and on this show. Very quickly, we look at this. You have a he said, he said. You have said in the past, and I've watched you say, you've said it here, at some point it doesn't matter if the father did or did not molest the kid. The kid believes he was molested. So the system should operate to protect him even if it didn't happen. I say to you, when I hear you say it, and I've said it to you off the air, but it does matter if his father molested the child or not. That man is either guilty of the grossest of crimes that culture looks down on, probably almost worse than anything else, or not. So how can you wave that off?
Well, wait. And also, don't forget, for Damon, also, it matters that his words are believed. And so for Damon and his mother to have the court have done the right thing, if to investigate it properly, to make a determination whether the abuse happened, is as important to them as being vindicated would be for the dad. And so while I can see that and understand that for the family, that is the most important part, and it's the most frustrating part for the system because of the system failures. The part that matters to me from a custody as where does Damon go right now, it's about where we are today.
And what you said is it doesn't matter if it is the parental alienation that the mother planted this in his head or not. He believes it, so therefore the system should protect him and listen to him.
Yeah, and let's talk about parental alienation syndrome. That is a buzzword that has come about by the father's rights movement.
It's just the last few years.
Right,
yeah.
but courts do not recognize parental alienation syndrome. It is not legally founded as a true syndrome. It is something that has become buzzwords, and it does not have legal or medical credence. That's not to say that coaching doesn't happen necessarily, and that may or may not happen in court. In cases, certainly there are cases that it does happen, but to paint this automatically, and that's what has happened time and time again, is all of a sudden when there is no proof of sexual assault because of a poor investigation, it automatically becomes parental alienation syndrome, automatically custody gets reversed.
I always ask you, where's justice? In everything we talk about, where's justice? There may be no justice here eventually for everybody. Is that a negative view?
Well, I want to go back a little bit to talking about, let's talk about this elephant in the room of whether or not I, Robin, think that the sexual abuse happened. Because I think that's what people want to know is, do I believe Damon or do I not believe Damon?
And I will guess you have no idea.
And you're right.
Okay.
I was not there. But I will tell you that I sat in and I watched these interviews. And I watched the dad talk and tell a story. And I find it fascinating that this is all about a case, all about coaching. And the person who was coaching was the stepmom. The dad's new wife.
Coaching the father.
Was coaching the father behind me. Was talking
so
to him, telling
why
him what
wasn't
to
that shown
say.
in the report?
I would have loved to have seen that.
Okay.
I also found it unusual that he cried on cue. I found it unusual. I found him very well versed in being able to speak about criminal versus family law and be able to kind of mix up some indifferences to say, some nuances to say there was no credible evidence of sexual abuse. That's a family law buzzword.
Right.
That's not criminal court.
And it's not even the way, there was a moment where he said, I didn't, when Gina asks him that, did you sexually abuse your son? And he said, I didn't, I'm not that kind of person, which I find a strange answer for a father to say, rather than to say, no, of course not. But being pardon me for saying this, being a creep is not a felony.
That's absolutely right. And also one of the things I think we've looked at Damon, we're looking at Damon now at 16 years old. I've had an opportunity to hear and listen to the tapes of his interviews when he was 6. So a lot of people are looking at his language and vocabulary and may say, this seems maybe contrived.
He says words like subsequently and the legal...
He used big words like that, but I have to tell you, I watched him at 6 years old, and he was a sophisticated 6-year-old, and all of a sudden when you see him at 6, there is definitely credibility.
The first rule of any society is to protect children, period. To protect children. You got to make sure that it's right, what you're protecting. But what drives me crazy in this case, because I have no idea what happened there, is the judge, we'll go back to that, there was a judge who apparently said, and I hope this is accurate.
I have the transcript twice.
What did the judge say?
Let me read it for you. The judge literally said, the court has already made findings. We're going to reunify these 3 children with their father, regardless of whether the abuse happened or not.
Can you find out the name of that judge, and can we follow up on that?
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Okay, because
that sounds... I know it starts with an A, Judge.
Well, whatever, but it sounds insane that a judge would say, regardless, we're going to put him back with the father.
By the way, it happened twice. In 2004 it was said, and in 2009.
All right, you and Gina, you're doing all of this. Can we find out about the judge?
We will find out about the judge.
Thank you so much, Robin Sachs.